à tous, merci d'être venus si nombreux à cette rencontre.
Good afternoon. Thank you for so many of you coming on the Promoting Artistic Project to international audience. We have Renato, Lombardo, we have Katy Queen from Edinburgh Fringe Society, Achim, Wieland, and we are live on the Arts Live platform. Do not hesitate to send the link to people who can be present, and I'll hand over to Nikson. Good afternoon, everyone. Before we start the meeting, let me just do something that we shouldn't do. Let me a small performance. Early on, when I came to the off village, I saw a group who have come a very long way. They come from China, and these children here are with us. And I would hand over to the person who spoke to me earlier, who will explain why they are here, and they will sing a song. That's it. Because as we are in the international part, they will give us a brief introduction. Good afternoon. We are a child's choir from China. The children are disabled. Most of them have hearing problems since they were born, and they have cochlear implants. So now they are beginning to talk and sing, and we have a lot of volunteers to help these children to speak and sing. And we have just taken part in the Choral Festival in Provence, and then we came here to take part in this festival. We have prepared three small shows with the children. So we are very pleased to meet the Vice President this afternoon, and they would like to give a little show now. I'd like to ask all the children to come up here, and we will sing a song for you. Thank you very much. You're visiting here for 2 days. They have come to give us a little gift at the Avignon Festival. Thank you very much. I realize I didn't introduce Karen, who is with us by Skype on screen for the Copenhagen Fringe. So many thanks to the children for singing. Maybe I'll hand over to Karen so she can talk about Copenhagen Fringe and what it represents. Karen?
Thank you so much. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, totally.
Okay, good. Good. I'm going to speak in English. I did actually have French in school, in high school, and was rather good at it, but it kind of left me again. But I do understand what you're saying, so that's really nice. About Copenhagen Stage, it is actually not an ordinary Fringe festival. It started up as a festival by the 5 theatres in Copenhagen who missed a festival for Danish and international performing arts. Copenhagen had only had international festivals so far. This means that Copenhagen Stage is a Fringe festival in the sense that the festival doesn't curate the program, but it's actually the venues in Copenhagen that make sure that the program is made. But the festival in itself doesn't curate, and that's why we see ourselves as a Fringe festival. And actually, thanks to Gabrielle, live moves in funny ways, I got connected with the Nordic Fringe Network. So we started collaborating with them. And this year in Brighton Festival Fringe, we made a Nordic season showing shows from the Nordic countries. But back to Copenhagen Stage, we do have some curated shows. We have 1 to 3 international opening shows. They are curated by our curator and in collaboration with the rest of the team. And we have an international advisory board as well. And then we also have some international days. That's what we call it. It's kind of a similar thing as you are doing, but we have we call it a performing arts meeting for international guests, and we also use it as a Danish showcase. And here we curate 6 to 8 curated shows, Danish shows that are ready for international touring. So in that sense, we make a lot of efforts in collaboration with the Danish Arts Foundation and a lot of Danish institutions working for the performing arts to actually bring a lot of international guests to Copenhagen during those days, which also is a great opportunity for international artists to get to meet these people. So I would like to emphasize that this is also, these international days are also a performing arts meeting for international guests and also a possibility for the international shows that plays at Copenhagen Stage. Then I'm going to go to that part of it, because if there are anyone interested in playing at Copenhagen Stage, which are not from Denmark, that there are plenty of opportunities for that. But it is, I would advise people to contact the festival and as I am the international producer, it's actually contacting me. I gave Gabrielle my contact info. Please ask her if you're interested. You're very welcome to write me an email. And then what we normally do is that we try to look at the shows, and then we try to connect you with Danish venues. We can't guarantee anything because it's up to the venues if they want to go into this. If they want to do a collaboration, but we do communicate about that, or we do connect people, artists, and connection. This year, I think we had 12 shows from international, from European, from international shows, which were played at the festival. There was one from Hungary, and there was one from Brazil, and there were from the Nordic countries. There were several, and actually next year for the edition of 2020, we are starting for the first time to do some kind of a collaboration with the Nordic Fringe Network, and that is several Fringe festivals in the Nordic countries, led by Adam, who is from the Stockholm Fringe Festival, which is the oldest festival, and where we do some kind of that you can sign up and you can apply for being part of the festival. But it's a difficult kind of festivals, but they're all Fringe festivals in the sense that you will collaborate with venues, and it's not that you're not curated by the festival itself. But we'll be very happy to help you, and also make sure that you get to know of this and put you in the information flow about this development. So again, I would emphasize, please don't hesitate to contact me and or ask any questions. I don't think I will say that much more. Please feel free to ask if there's anything. Thank you for asking me here.
Okay, thank you very much, Karen. We will go with the other participant and maybe go with question of the audience after, if you have a little time to stay with us. Perfect.
I'm curious also, I want to hear.
Perfect. So I'm giving the microphone to Achim. If you want to present Buffer Fringe, please.
My name is Achim Wieland. I'm representing the Buffer Fringe Festival of Cyprus here. I was the artistic director of the edition 5, which was last year's edition. And I'm mentioning this because we have this thing in Cyprus of a rotating position. The theme changes every year. Let me start from the beginning. The Cyprus fringe called the Buffer Fringe is called the Buffer Fringe because we're within the United Nations buffer zone. The Cyprus is a divided island into Cypriot Turkish and Cypriot Greek. So it's two main communities. I said this morning. There's also 3 smaller communities: the Armenian, the Latin, and the Maronite communities. But mostly the largest communities are the Greek community and the Turkish community. And because the island is divided, there's this huge moat that runs through the last divided capital of the world, which is Nicosia, and throughout the entire island, dividing it entirely, essentially, into the north and into the south part. Now, having said this, the people that have started the Buffer Fringe, it's called the Home for Cooperation. And the Home for Cooperation is an organization that is very much interested in a peace-building process, into bringing the communities together, into lowering the mistrust between the communities, basically offering also a safe space in the buffer zone for people to come together and share and to just simply meet. The borders have opened, if I'm not completely off, in 2004. So since 2004 the buffer zone is open. Since 2013 we have the Buffer Fringe Festival. It was originally a very small festival and it slowly grew until last year, Buffer Fringe Edition 5. We have tried various scenarios. If I can go a little bit into the history, it's okay. Where we, for example, the first Buffer Fringe, it happened in the moat itself. There was several stages in that area, in this kind of no man's land, also called the Green Line. And we have done it there on purpose to really literally bring the communities which can enter from their respective sites into the moat to see performances. Then we have tried different ways of working with theaters. Last year we have tried a new format when I was the artistic director of doing 2 stages which were kind of mirrored stages. It was in the old marketplace in the Turkish market and in the old marketplace in the Greek market. Both one is a running market, one is an abandoned market, not abandoned but multifunctional space. But we have basically reused it and built a stage in the north and a stage in the south facing each other to sort of not to use the wrong word, force people, but to nurture this idea of actually crossing the border. So some performances were available only in the north, some only in the south, some in both places, but basically we encourage people, also mostly people living in Cyprus, to cross the border into the other communities territory. So it's a little bit of a complicated situation in Cyprus, but the buffer fringe really has become, it was less a motor or a way to showcase the performing arts, but it was more a way of the performing arts to aid the peace-building process between the communities. So this is kind of our starting point. Either I can talk about it now, or if you want to come back later, I can talk a little bit more about the different programs that we did. Okay. For example, last year I initiated this idea because I thought there was three areas that were underdeveloped. One was artistic development, one was audience development, and one was kind of a networking within the art-making communities, venues, theater communities on the island. So the first initiative, we called them micro-formats. So aside from the main stage, we had these micro-formats. One was called Duets. Duets is an artistic development program that was developed to bring two people that want to collaborate from different communities or from different fields, artistic fields, to collaborate for 1 week. We offer space, we offer basic technical needs, and we offer some guidance support in developing, mentoring support in developing a performance. Now, it was very rudimentary, but it was kind of amazing, the success of just asking people to apply as individuals to indicate a format, profession that you're interested in. For example, traditionally, choreographers work with musicians, maybe, directors work with actors. But we were interested in actors working with architects, architects working with songwriters, songwriters working with sculptors, sculptors working with a performer, performer working with a visual artist, and so on. So the idea was kind of on two levels. One was bringing two different communities together, also local and international. The other one was bringing different art forms together for a truly interdisciplinary experience or a truly intercommunal experience. So these people met for a week. We had several weeks, had this program running. We also found partners like dance houses, theaters, international, international organizations that had kind of rehearsal spaces to offer. So it was a very grassroots thing. You know, you have a space, great, help us. You want to do a performance, apply. And then we matched people up. And we matched people up according to their theme. If they were interested in, like, just to give one example, one was about, one person wanted to talk about tenderness. The other person wanted to talk about skin as the largest organ. So there was a match talking about this kind of skin intimacy idea. And so on and so forth. Out of all of the people, we picked one performance that was selected for the main stage. And it was really a great success because it was a very low budget affair on our end. We always in need for budget, so it was a very good way for us to bring people together. The other thing was called Satellite. Satellite, the idea was that performances that we invite on the main stage, international performances as well as local performances, we invited them and we selected some of them suitable to perform in other theaters around the island. So it was not just in Nicosia, but also in Limassol in the south, in Paphos in the south, or in Karinia in the north. So it was very important to bring these. One was a program theater, one was a visual art institution, and one was a university of dance. Bring very different communities from a venue perspective, but also the type of audience that would see the performance together. And the last thing, and there was also, again, a kind of coming out of a need for having no budget and basically saying, why should somebody travel from Egypt to Cyprus or from the United States to Cyprus onto a main stage to perform once when we can help them? I mean, I know it as a performance maker myself. I like to go somewhere and I like to perform more than once if I can. So it was not a matter of extra monetary effort. It was just a matter of asking people whether they would supply the venue with their technical staff to get basically a free performance from the Buffer Fringe and to host it. Also a way for us as a Fringe festival to grow our network. And third, another micro format was called Critical Mass. and it was basically an audience development tool where we tried to work with actors to bring literary works off the shelf and into ordinary places, like into the supermarket, into a butcher, into a hairdresser. So you have like Kavafis at the gym or Shakespeare at the butcher and so on and so forth. And it would basically be actors read. So we bring the acting community, professional actors, into ordinary places, and we talk about the buffer fringe in ordinary places with sort of high-end literature to a normal end public that would never have exposure to the idea of a fringe festival otherwise. Those are the three things. I can go more into detail later. I can also answer questions about how to apply or what the special requirements are that we have as a buffer fringe festival for those interested.
Thank you very much. Katy, can I ask you to present Edinburgh Fringe Festival and what you're doing here?
Yeah, hi, my name is Katy Queen. I'm the Artist Development Manager at the Edinburgh Festival Fringe Society. The Edinburgh Festival Fringe is the largest and oldest fringe in the world. It was created in 1947 as a response to the Edinburgh International Festival. The Edinburgh International Festival started in response to World War II as a means to bring European countries together to repair broken relationships. And it was a curated festival. So everyone that was taking part in that festival was invited and programmed to do so. There were 8 companies that were not invited, and they decided they wanted to perform anyway. So they showed up to Edinburgh and they brought their shows and their costumes and props, and they established their own venues, they marketed their own shows, sold their own tickets and found their own audiences. And they discovered the movement, which we now know as the Fringe. So they were performing on the Fringe of the International Festival. So every single year after 1947, that phenomenon continued to grow and grow. More artists and more companies were coming to Edinburgh every single year to perform their shows on the fringes of the festival. So in 1958, the Edinburgh Festival Fringe Society, which is who I work for, was founded to create, similar to Avignon, a centralised support body for the artists that were performing on the fringe. We put together the programme, we advise the venues, we advise the artists, and we support the audiences that are coming to help them to navigate the enormous programme that exists today. The festival is in August every year. This year it will take place from the 2nd of August to the 26th. And this year in the programme there are 3,800 shows happening across over 300 venues for a huge amount of countries. There's 63 countries that perform this year in Edinburgh. 63, but 4 of those then would be the 4 countries that make up the UK, which means we have 59 countries coming from abroad to perform in the Edinburgh Festival Fringe. So it's a really hugely international festival. It is completely open access, just like most of the fringes that you'll find across the world. To take part in the Edinburgh Fringe, anyone can take part once you can find a venue in which to programme your show. So we like to think of it as the largest platform for creative expression in the world. Nobody will ever be denied from performing on the Edinburgh Festival Fringe once you can find a venue. And if you can't find a venue, you can make your own. Anyone can start a venue at the Fringe. In the past, we've had people performing in phone boxes, people performing in public toilets. Last year, we had a company that performed a show in a chicken coop, I think. So really, it's a platform for anybody and everybody, and that includes anyone from any language that wants to come and perform, people that perform without any languages. And the opportunities at the Fringe are absolutely huge, and I'm sure we'll cover a lot of the international opportunities during this workshop. But every year we accredit over. Last year we accredited 1,400 members of the international and UK-based arts industry. So those are people coming to program their own venues and festivals around the world. There's agents and producers coming to see shows, to find new talent, to find collaborations. And one of the jobs I do is as artist development manager is I assist artists in finding those opportunities for their shows. So any artist that's coming to the Fringe to perform can come to us for advice on their professional and creative development at the Fringe. We have a huge amount of resources in professional development workshops and talks and conferences similar to this. But we also just have a lot of one-to-one advice and can talk to artists to understand their objectives and their goals for performing at the Fringe. So it's a huge platform for development. So we can help artists achieve those goals and build strategies to network with the industry, to find the place where they want to go to next, which may be Avignon or maybe Buffer Fringe and Milan off. It's a really, really exciting festival. It's happening in August, so it's slightly soon. Tomorrow. But yeah, I've worked there for 3 years now, and it's every single year surprises me. We're a completely impartial organisation, so unfortunately I will never recommend one show over another. But we very much support every artist in an open and kind of equal way across the 3,000 however many shows. So is anything else that I should cover?
I think
just
we're good for now.
Small
Maybe
introduction for now.
We will enter in more detail about application
Excellent.
and details about
and then any
international
questions
plays
afterwards.
Yeah.
Great.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Katy. Renato, would you please present Milano of Fringe Festival?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Gabrielle, and thank you to the community and the Association of Avignon for having us here. And I want to start to thanks for the second year. Je parle français, peut-être.
Do you want me to speak in French? So I was listening to, I got a bit lost between my languages. Okay, so I just wanted to thank Avignon for having me here again this year for the second edition of the International Focus. It really is something extremely important. We mentioned it beforehand for us. This is the third year. We are very small, haven't even learned to walk yet. And when we are facing great big organizations like yours, and it's very important because it allows us to learn from your experience. For us, to start with, if I want to tell you how I came to Avignon in 2014, 2015, I wondered if it was possible to do something similar in Italy with the same mindset. And as I said, I used to be in jazz for 35 years. I did a lot of things, maybe too many. As someone said, so you've done something, so maybe it's about time you changed. So I changed my objective because I thought that jazz and music was not enough for society today. Jazz music is something that people don't listen to much these days. I have to say that. So I think that theatre is not new, but is the. But I think I thought it would be important to set up something. Not saying it didn't exist. Things do exist, but not with the same connection and the systems that you have set up. So I'd like to thank you for your partnership. And it's not only a partnership to say, open the door to the system, to all the questions that I needed to ask. And I have had a lot of support in finding solutions. And so the first year was a festival that we prepared, thinking, how can we give pleasure to people? How can we say that the future is important? And here we thought of interior happiness, it is a parameter is similar to the GDP. It's something to say to people that it's important to be happy. When we considered this would be our mission, to tell people that it was important to look into each other and see what gives you happiness. Because we tend to forget. We forget the importance of culture, the importance of being happy. So in Paris or Milano, we're always running after time. We never know what we're running for. And in point of fact, if you're in red, the bank manager will call you and want to see you. But if you have in red in terms of happiness, you need to see a psychologist or a doctor or something. So we thought that maybe we could work on this concept and put together a small festival with an exhibition in the Ozola area, which is a vertical build, very green, high building. We did there the first year. Then all of the shopkeepers have a small kind of island Swiss culture. We say that theatres are small islands of culture in a neighbourhood. But if we bring 100 people a day to each venue, that means there are thousands of people who are coming into a neighbourhood. If people are going to a park, they will eat, they will drink. And if you've got a shop around close to a theatre, we manage the theatres and shows, and not at all what is next to it. I tried to explain it and see why not. It will be resources for the neighbourhood. Why do we show? Because, for instance, if each shopkeeper can pay a little something to maintain a theatre, we're not talking about state subsidies. That would be something different. So we started setting up this system. And I said earlier, I saw dear friends who, Stefano Bolani and other friends who helped me. There were 4 or 5 venues, 20 companies, and then we moved to different neighborhoods in Milano, 16 theaters that we put in a network, and it started to grow. But in point of fact, we saw that theaters in Milano were not yet ready to do it, because they are small theaters, just 1 or 2 people managing them, and it's don't have the strength in June to implement it. But we did try anyway, and we saw that some companies from Israel, Spain, Switzerland, and a lot from the whole of Italy. This year, last year we decided we had to prepare the format that would be the right one for the future, based on the economic model and the artistic model in Avignon. I watch and copy it, not inventing anything, and I'm trying. And this year, it will be September, in 2 months' time, from the 17th to the 22nd. We still have a call for companies until the 22nd of July. A lot of companies say 22nd of July. That's for 2020, after the festival. I know, I said now, September. In Italy, pizza, you put it in the oven, then you eat it when it's nice and fresh. 22nd of July, and in September, the festival. And even the operator, if they want to come see what is happening, there's an application for operators, and there'll be a village like this one with a lot of things happening, with discussions and presentations, and you have the musical off, and you have monologues, and the theatres have more structured shows The application is €15, and then the theatre will choose their shows. They'll have 3 shows for each theatre. And the idea is that the 3 shows over the 5 days in show, 50% of the income before tax will be shared between all of the companies who will be there, who have put on their show at the theatre. That is, that's to avoid competition, rather work on experience sharing. I'll end with that, and I'll present this new concept, and maybe there's something else later. So, Nikson Pitaqaj, who coordinates Avignon Festival, talk about this 50th edition. Festival of Avignon, normally, I think you know what's going on, but the Festival of Avignon was created 53 years ago. 1966 exactly, and have a thought for Benedetto. He left us 10 years ago. Bertrand Euro, his comrade, who left last year. So, Avignon Festival. I'm going to come back to what was said here and the experience that we had with Gabrielle when we went to Edinburgh last August for the International Fringe Forum. I think there were 38 festivals together at the time, weeks, discussion, debate, meetings. And we realized that, in point of fact, the fringes are always launched at a specific time. For Edinburgh, just after the war, Achim is in a very specific area, in the middle of a very strong history. And we tend to forget that sometimes, that very often a fringe festival is a strong shout which becomes a political one. And as time goes on, sometimes, when you settle in Edinburgh Fringe Festival, here in Avignon Festival, we forget that it started from a shout or a scream, and we have to keep it. And the scream, which should remain political, not always political text, but make sure that you have a show, that you sing, go to Cyprus, or to Spain or Italy, to hear the French language is political. All these foreigners coming to France, for me, is political. It is extremely interesting. And sometimes, there has been a time, I think, in Avignon Festival where we forgot that we needed to be happy, to host people correctly, and I'm quite happy that for some time now we have become aware that all these foreigners coming here come to share their experience is a good thing. Now, us as French, we tend to forget, or maybe we're somewhat to stay at home, or we have enough places, enough venues, but what I would wish is for us to travel more, even if it is very complicated. It is complicated because life is becoming more and more expensive, and it's normal that artists, of course, have to be paid for what they're doing because it's their job, and this is contradictory with the fringe. So we went to the forum when we talked about the Avignon Festival. Of course, there's a lot that needs to be corrected, but we realized that we were some of the rare fringe festivals or off festivals where the concern to pay the artists is at the core of the project today. So how can we disseminate? That is another subject. There's a lot of wishing, a lot of hopes, a lot of demands. And sometimes we have to go beyond fear and agree to leap into the unknown. And I'm speaking to myself at the same time. Sometimes I tend not to move much. I can see someone nodding their head at the back. And for me, it is very important because every time when I travel abroad, we work abroad, when I come back to France, I don't know why. There are two sides. I feel very angry and I feel very happy at the same time. I don't know, traveling, going to see what's happening elsewhere, come back with new ideas, and you have to think of it. And so that's another reason why at Avignon Festival, particularly with Gabrielle's work, our demand is to organize these meetings that we launched last year. It's the second time this year. I hope there will be more. And so I don't want to take any longer. I'd just like to say thank you to my friends on the left and right and all those who were here this morning and be speaking over the next 3 days. Thank you for coming to us. It is very important. It's important for us to meet, to discuss, argue maybe, and remember that it is our duty to go and see what is happening elsewhere. Thank you, Nikson. I suggest we hear our speakers again so that they can explain how they can be contacted. How can you contact the theatres? Is there an application form? Is it the festivals who deal with the links? Is it the festival to do the programming? What type of international programming you find? What are the international companies? What do you adapt? Do you do subtitling in the original language? Do you have a language in the other language? Is it a visual show? And then we'll have some time exchanging on these issues. Karen?
Karen, can I let you begin with, well, you told yet the explanation to be related with theaters, but maybe could you quickly come back on it and tell what type of international performances we can find in CPH Stage?
Yes, I would love to. I think I would start another place. I would say what actually works well in Denmark, because there has. I'm also working in an agency where we are touring with works. We are going to Edinburgh Festival Fringe this August, preparing for that right now, looking very much forward. So, but it's always very sensitive when you go to another country if you're actually able to find the audiences there. For example, this year we had an Hungarian company who came with a German drama and played it. But I mean, that was kind of that's the kind of thing that is a bit difficult to really promote in Denmark. Actually, they did very well because the team was they were very good at promoting it. So they managed to, and they also got some help from the Hungarian embassy. But in Denmark, I think that if you come with an international show, it should most likely be not with like dance or physical, or with no words. I think that would work the best, because there is a tendency. I'm not really proud of it, but there is a tendency, even though most Danes, they know more than 2 languages, that there is a tendency that we don't have a tradition for texting shows. So if you come with an energetic show that is visual, physical, no words, with music. That tends to be better received in Denmark. Just to be honest, so that's what I've been looking at when I've been seeing. Of course, was the seventh edition, yes, and so I've been looking at how what kind of shows does actually succeed in Denmark, and then you also has to be prepared. Just like when you go to Edinburgh, you have to, and other places, you have to be prepared on also doing contacting a lot of a lot of people, or do some promotion yourself. We do a lot to help. And we tend to care a lot about the international shows because we really know how hard it is to get to, or how hard it can be to come to another country. So the festival really try to help, but it's also important that the shows try to reach out themselves. But we do have a very good collaboration with the embassies, and from actually we have built up a good relationship with the embassies, so they can help somehow. But yeah. Does that somehow answer your question, Gabrielle?
Yes, it was perfect. Thank you very much. Achim?
Thank you. I actually just want to quickly backtrack one step, and I also want to thank, which I forgot very much, the festival for inviting us, Nikson, Gabrielle for organizing everything. Because Renato gave me the initiative, actually. We are also a super small festival with about 10 to 12 performances, so not thousands or hundreds, but 10 to 12. So it is an amazing opportunity for us to tie in and to partner up and to have a chance to present a small festival like the Buffer Fringe Festival in Cyprus, in Avignon or in Edinburgh also, which I was also attending the World Congress last year. Those are amazing opportunities, and just to give one example, we went up from edition 4, having about hardly 100 applications, to 340 international applications, which really has all to do with networking and also reflects in the end, of course, in the quality of shows. And the other thing I wanted to add is that, and that has to do directly with our festival, Nikson had already also mentioned it, but I think it's even more important this year or in the past years, because of the nature of our bicommunal or multi-communal context, and because it was my need to also bring, as important as this bicommunal context is, to also bring in the world at large. It's almost even more important as communities are struggling with each other to open it up even more and to show that the whole world is at a difficult place at the moment. And to understand through all these divisive forces that more divisions between communities, especially today, will not help more in an already divisive world. There were some very interesting dynamics last year that played into the festival, or our festival, the Buffer Fringe Festival, to becoming a little bit more political. It was my initiative to really work along lines, along themes, and we started last year with a theme called Breaking Points. And breaking points, to make it specific but to also leave it a bit open, breaking point immediately puts like an energy of dilemma or a difficulty or an obstacle into the game for the application. On the other hand, it left it open enough because a breaking point can be hugely universal, could be a political breaking point, could be a big debate on the world stage, but it can also be for a smaller society a breaking point, as much as it can be a very small personal, really my own personal breaking point at the moment that I am in my life right now. So it left a lot of room open. Having said this, there is we have a theme. We had one last year that was breaking point, the one this year, but the call closed for our November festival was borders in its widest sense, contact over borders, non-contact with borders. What does a border mean? In our case, what do two borders mean, plus a gap that divides the two borders mean, and so forth and so on. But basically, our festival will probably also next year remain along the lines of a theme. So if you're interested in applying, the best way to do it is to go online, to go to we are called, and I have it right here, if you want to, oops, I just had it right here, at www.home for cooperation, and the 4 is the number 4, so it's home for cooperation .info, and you can find all the information there. You can also go click there on Buffer Fringe or just put /Buffer Fringe. It'll bring you there. You can also write an email to bufferfringe@home for cooperation, which brings you directly to the artistic director of the festival or to the people collecting the applicants for the open call. Our festival also, this was a long debate about, and this goes a little bit counter to the other fringes probably. Our festival, we pay a small fee. It changes from year to year because we don't have tickets, so it's open to the public. We pay a small fee despite our small budget, and that also shifts a bit from year to year. And we offer accommodation and those things, but it might make it for small groups a little bit easier to apply. Just as we just heard from Denmark, also performances that use little language are probably a little bit in favor because we're dealing with 2 different communities already with languages, but that's not to say that we've also had full theater performances from 1 hour of speech beginning to end. So it's not an absolute rule, it just makes things a little bit easier, but I would say also performative theater, visual theater, device theater, anything from just talking theater probably helps. What else can I say about application, about specifics? I think this is it for now. Maybe I can continue also a little bit later.
Katy?
Hello. Just like Achim, I also forgot to thank our wonderful hosts. I want to give a huge thank you to Gabrielle, who I've been emailing for many months now, but only met for the first time yesterday. Gabrielle and Nikson, as they said, they came to Edinburgh last year for Fringe World Congress. So Fringe World Congress is a meeting that happens every 2 years at different fringes around the world. And it's for people that work for fringe or off festivals and work to run them, and there's a meeting every 2 years to talk about the kind of models and different organizational tools and different methods and applications that we use to run our organizations. The next one is in 2020 in Adelaide, if anyone wants to go down south. And so last year, my colleague and I participated in one of the international focus meetings over Skype, like Karen is doing now. Sorry, Karen, hello. So I'm delighted to be here this year to get to actually meet people and talk to everyone and be here in person because it is raining in Edinburgh and it's much nicer to be here. So to come to the Edinburgh Festival Fringe, I'm actually giving a workshop tomorrow at 10:30 to go into the detail of it. So if anyone wants to come to that, please do. But I will give a brief run through of how you can take part in the Fringe, how you can contact us and contact the venues, what to do if you're coming as an international performer, and a little bit about the maybe contacting audiences, marketing your show and connecting with the industry. I guess the first thing to do is to contact us because if you access the information on the website, it can be quite difficult to understand. There's a huge amount of information on there and finding the right way to go is quite difficult. So I will read out an email address now, but if you don't catch it, get me afterwards and I'll write it down for you. It's participants@edfringe.com. So that's participants@edfringe.com. edfringe.com. So that is the first point of contact for any question you have about the Fringe, be it which venue should I choose, or can I come as an international performer? Do I need a visa? Every question you have about the Fringe, contact that email address. My colleague Matt, Kevin and Eleanor all sit on the other side and they're excellent. So the first thing after you contact us is to find a venue. As I said, we're an uncurated festival, so you can get in touch with the venue as the first point. There's over 300, so how are you going to find the one that fits you? There's every genre of the performing arts is presented in the Edinburgh Fringe, be it theatre, comedy, dance, music, spoken word, cabaret, circus. It's exhibitions as well. Sometimes there's a huge variety. So I think the best thing to do to find which venue might suit you best is look at the programme that's on this year or last year, and find which shows were programmed in the venue, which show is similar to the show that you're bringing perhaps, and what venues they went for. And then the guidance that we always give people is contact about 10 venues. Don't always go to one venue that you think is the best or that you think is the most appropriate for your show, because if you contact one venue and you don't contact any others, and then that one venue doesn't program your work, you don't have any backup plans. So finding about 10 venues that might be the right fit for you, and then contacting them and finding out what model they operate under. There's a huge variety of different models. You can either go for a straight hire, where you pay the money up front and you keep all of your box office profit. There's a box office split, which generally works about 60% to the artist and 40% to the venue. There's the free model, which is you get your venue hire for completely free, and your tickets are free to the audience, and then at the end of the show you pass around a hat and you take the money from that. So then you keep all of your profit for that as well. And all of the venues operate on either these models or similar, but they're all independently run venues, so it's good to have those conversations and find out what suits you the best. International performances, they happen across all venues. I've certainly seen a lot of international performances, and it's increased hugely in the past few years, which is excellent given the kind of a lot of restrictions to do with immigration and artist mobility in the past few years. So the fact that the Edinburgh Fringe continues to get more and more international is we celebrate it so much, and it's really, really exciting for us. As Achim was saying, it's better to have something that's non-verbal or perhaps more visual, more physical. In my experience, I haven't seen a huge amount of shows that have subtitling or that have live translation. So and luckily, English is quite a universal language, and so it shouldn't be too difficult if you wish to translate your piece, to do so. But yes, I absolutely agree with Achim in the idea that something more visual, more physical. There's a lot of theatre that's just non-verbal. There's a lot of dance and circus that's presented from internationally in Edinburgh. But certainly there have been a lot of foreign language theatre and comedy pieces cropping up in the past few years. There's a lot of international showcases that come to Edinburgh. So international showcases are often showcases of work that are supported by governments that come to Edinburgh to use it as a platform for discovering international opportunities for touring, to engage with the marketplace and the industry that exists there. I have a list of some countries that are putting on showcases this year. So we have Canada, China, Finland, Italy, Japan, Korea, New Zealand, Northern Ireland, Quebec, Switzerland, Taiwan and Wales. So that's just for this year, but every year there's a huge amount of countries that come to put on international work, and they build an industry program around that. So they have networking events, and there's different models for these. Some of them are supported by governments and by arts councils. Some of them are privately funded. Some of them just come together and self-fund themselves and then take their profit home, but support each other as a collective in Edinburgh. So if there was the opportunity for a group of French artists or companies to come together to put on a French showcase, we would absolutely welcome that too. We'd love for that to happen. In terms of if you're bringing a show over that you've not been to Edinburgh before and you're looking to maybe understand how to get an audience for your work, especially if it's international and you maybe don't have a base in the UK, Edinburgh is a crazy place in August. There's not just the Edinburgh Fringe on, but there's also the International Festival, there's the Book Festival, the Jazz Festival, there's the Edinburgh Military Tattoo, there's a film festival just before. There's a huge amount of festivals going on around the same time. And there's also just a huge tourism population in Edinburgh. And it's said that the population of Edinburgh triples in August. So you will find an audience for your work, no matter what your work is about. It's very much a case of knowing what your show is about, and similar to Avignon, getting out there. There's a huge amount of flyering that goes on during Edinburgh, during the Fringe. There's streets and streets of people, and there's the famous Royal Mile, which is in the centre of the city in Old Town, which we close down to traffic and take over as our street events stage for the festival. So every single day there's street performances going on. There's stages for you, for any indoor show to get up and perform and do some promotion for their show. There's people flyering in costume. Somebody came up to me dressed as a pigeon last year to give me a flyer. It's really great. If you get out there and if you know what your show is about and you can say that in 30 seconds and really bring people in, you'll absolutely get an audience. Other than that, I think it's mostly looking at when you are coming to the Fringe, talking to us as much as you can. Because we'll be able to put you in touch with other people that are doing similar work to yourself, and we can help you to market your show. We have a whole media office that can advise people on their press release, on their poster design, on their flyer design, on their social media campaign, and how they can get their audiences and how to get reviewers into their show. We also have the artist development team, and we help to matchmake artists with programmers and promoters and ensure that you're getting the right people in to see your show for your onward opportunities. That's all I'm going to say about that for now. I'm sure people will have questions later, but thank you.
Thank you, Katy. Renato?
Renato, what can I say after that? It's competing with the festival, it's over 50 years old. Si je crois qu'il y a quelque chose que vous voulez faire, vous avez déjà 50 ans, vous avez déjà tout fait. So, I think that all different festivals, different countries show the culture in each country. So, Edinburgh is extremely organized. Avignon has a great spirit of freedom. And what we can do in Italy, we got a pizza last minute, things that happen, you just don't know why, but they're there. It's good to try to be more organized, but true that the organization of art in Italy, I'm thinking, we did the celebrated Leonardo da Vinci. It was celebrated in France because he left Italy to go to France. So more than 400 years ago in Italy it was difficult to work in culture, and lost Leonardo da Vinci. So you have much more for culture in France than you have in Italy. You have 4% when you have 0.3 as a GDP. We are going to set up according to our kind of fantasy. It's Commedia dell'arte, create a festival which will remain the heart, and we can set up whatever we can. It means that the Milano Festival will try to be implemented this year with a model to be the right place and modestly do what you have been doing for years with a lot of humbleness. And I think in Italy it's important to have somewhere to have circuits, and we're there. Maybe there's a lot of criticism in Italy because we charge 30 euros per day for the theatres. People, I like to talk with the union of actors. We're going to cope with all that. Of course, there are a lot of concerns with the city as well. This year, finally, we are able to set up a partnership which hopefully will work, who provided a venue in the town centre which could be a village. We'll have some private partnerships to have did speed dating with operators. I wondered why a company has to come to Milano for the Milano off Fringe Festival. I could use both words. Why come to Milano? Because Milano has a kind of eccentric theatrical aspect. If a comedy is accepted well in something that's happening, goes well in Milano, it will be accepted everywhere in Italy. So everyone wants to come. If you come from the south, so you want to, it's for all the companies who don't have a chance. And that's one side. And that's the noisy professional side. Because it means that they are challenged by projects which are subsidized, not covered by a major theatre, not covered at all, but it is the core business coming up with the strength and the will to travel and take challenges. And then you can feel the emotion they put into it. And hopefully this will make the establishment tremble. The constitutional parts, the major theatres, major companies, with plenty of subsidies, nice and safe and warm. So we are the festival which helps get this out, the off Fringe can help create connected. As I said earlier, technically Milano is a large city where a lot happens. You got the Scala, the Piccolo, Expo, Armani, everything you need for shopping. It's a big tourist city as well. September is good weather. July, Avignon. August, Edinburgh. Why not September in Milano? So it could be a good idea. And we're here to do that. And we'll be happy to answer any questions regarding technical issues. You'll find everything online. One thing that I ask you is to go online and send in your application as an operator. Even if you don't come, write your name down as an operator. This will help us say that we are in contact with operators, and that's good for the companies. Do you think that Milano off, you can come with a text which isn't in Italian, with subtitles? What is the attitude of the public? Is it better to have a visual show? People are used to text. What do you think about that? I think that Milano is ready for everything. It's a large metropolis. As said, have a large theatre, the Piccolo Theatre, who have everything's been done there. And 45,000 have subscriptions. They're close to the idea. If I go to the Scala, I go to Piccolo Theatre. They don't think that all that can be shown anywhere else. You just need to say that you can find it at the Scala, but you can also find it in a small Milano festival. It's not a theatre. There's money lacking for communication, not public. That is a problem, because if we communicate, if we have the money to communicate what is happening, Milano is ready for everything. Italy is ready for anything. It will depend on the company, the press attachés. We are very open, and we would like to, you know, we've talked a lot about it. Language is something, it's like writing has to be original. I imagine theatre being the original, the culture, either with words or with or with gestures. There are different ways to communicate the spirit of a show or a play. So there's the emotions linked to it. And today there is a lot of technology, and it's up to us to look ahead of us. We have to look ahead, look towards the future, look at kids who are 7 or 8 years old. They came to sing in Avignon, those little Chinese children. I think that will be a memory for life for those kids. I think that starting here, 10 years, 15 years, that is the public that you have to follow for the theatrical projects in words in general. That's where you need to start. Thank you. We have some questions, just as a reminder for those who have never taken part in Avignon Festival Off. In the resources, you have a search engine with filters, which, according to your shows, size of the stage, technical conditions, and the public, you can filter according to your project. So you can find a selection of venues that you can contact. As Katy was saying, it's good to contact several if the project is to come to Avignon the following year. Do not hesitate if you have any questions. And I'm coming with the microphone.
Hi, thank you. I can make this question in English or if you want in French, as you want, and I can translate that after. Hi, Mrs. Karen Toftegaard. Hi. So, you've said you're making some French festivals, organizing that, and I would like to know how a French company can be helped by embassies and art councils from here in order to go to your Fringe festival. Je le fais en français. Alors, j'aimerais savoir comment est-ce que...
So I would like to know how to go and take part in the Fringe festival in other countries, how French companies can deal. I'm thinking, for instance, the French Institute or other embassies in order to get support, for instance, for traveling, accommodation, so it is possible to accommodate people, accommodation, traveling, meals on site, which could support which could be given by embassies.
When you come as a French company, I think did have some French companies visiting. I'm not quite sure how the funding is from France, but I know that in Denmark there's a French embassy, and we have the French ambassador in Copenhagen is very engaged in the cultural milieu. So they have a specific focus on French artists coming to Denmark. And there we also have a French institute, also based in Copenhagen. And I know that they also help artists. That is mainly, I don't know about the embassy, how much they can help economically, but both the French embassy and the French Institute Français is actually they're very supportive regarding French artists visiting Denmark, and as they are based in Copenhagen, particularly the ones visiting Copenhagen. I believe there are also in the other Nordic countries. Those are some of the there are some main things, some things in common there. But at least for Copenhagen Stage in Denmark, we have a good. I have seen that French artists that are coming to Copenhagen, that they do actually get some quite good support regarding reaching out for audiences and how to navigate in the festival. Yeah, I don't know if that's enough answer.
Yes, thank you, Karen. Alors, quelques petits éléments de réponse.
Some elements. In France, the national agencies help international mobility, depending on our territory. You need to get in touch with the regional agency, and then you have the French institutes. Maybe Katy can talk about what you have in. I don't know how it's organized. I will give her. I will tell you how the French Institute is organized in Edinburgh. Do they program only French shows? How can you get in touch with them? Is there financial support?
So yes, the French Institute in Edinburgh is actually a fringe venue. They have a variety of spaces, and I don't think they program just French shows. I think they do program a variety of shows of different languages. I had a look on our website earlier, and I can see only I think there's only 6 shows coming from France to Edinburgh this year, and as far as I know, the French Institute has a bigger program than 6, so I would imagine that they are programming more than just French shows. But I think, if you want advice on coming as a French company to Edinburgh, and you want to get started with an organisation that knows the fringe from a French perspective, the l'Institut Français is a good starter point. I can give you his email address later. The guy who I have as a contact there is called Daniel Bowden. I think he programs their fringe season, but he's I think just a very good contact to have as well. They also have the French consulate based in the same building, and they're great partners of us. We often have networking events and stuff in that building. It's right in the centre of the city. It's a really beautiful old council building. So they're really, really lovely to speak to, and they'll absolutely support people coming to the Fringe. As for funding, again, as Gabrielle said, it's very much down to your own region and your own arts council. If you have one, I'm not entirely sure what the funding structures for theatre and for international dissemination are in France, but I do know that there's certainly support there. For anyone coming from outside of the European Union, the Edinburgh Fringe is a permit-free festival, so you wouldn't need to get a work permit to bring a show to the Fringe. If you were coming from outside the EU, you may need a visa, but you wouldn't need a work permit. So certainly, if there is any non-European countries here, but we might be soon, so who knows?
Achim, you want to say something?
Yeah, I just wanted to back up what Karen said, because it's pretty much the same model in Cyprus. But if you're interested, definitely the best way to do it is to contact the embassy, because what the French embassy, what they will do is, unless they pre-select, which I don't think they do, they will just pass your information straight on to us, and then it lands in the pool of applications. But then what happens, if you're selected, there's of course then a great chance that they will back up or give a small amount, whether it's 500 euros or those embassies have small budgets, but it will be something to support your coming on top of our help with accommodation and travel. Or we might even make a deal with them that if they can cover the travel, then we can invite that performance. But either way, it will be beneficial. So that's...
Another question? In French. I wanted to know for Edinburgh, if you go to the festival, like a festival of in Avignon, do you have a list of programmers which is accessible to companies? So can you have a list of all the programmers, many of them mentioned, who come, to be able to send them leaflets about the show? Because from France, we don't know about them.
I will answer in English. So your turn. Yes, we have. Last year we had 1,400 industry members, be it programmers, agents, producers. And what happens is if you come to my team, we will... take that list. If you speak to us about your show, you tell us what you want, what your show is about, what your objectives are. If it is that you want to tour, what scale, is it small, medium, large, whether your show is theatre or comedy or spoken word, etc. And then once we've spoken to you and understand what it is that you want, we will help you to identify people on that list that are appropriate for your show. So we will take that list, which is too big to even start to look through, and filter down so that it's a smaller size. So maybe we give you a list of 150 people that are looking for work that's similar to yours. So then you get their email address, you get something about what their organization is about, what they are looking to program, if they're looking some work that they programmed in the past, maybe the last time they were at the Fringe they programmed something similar to your work, and then once you have that list of over 100 names, you can research them and find out which ones maybe you can approach to invite to your show. So yes, at that point you can absolutely send them an email, let them know what your show is about, why you think that you would be the right fit for their theatre or for their venue, and send them an invite to come to your show. I always recommend that even if you have a list of 150 people, you might only find 20 people on that list that are right for you, and that's enough, because if you're approaching 150 people, it's hard to target each of those correspondences to make sure that you're giving them a professional approach. Make sure that you're saying exactly why you're communicating with them, exactly why you think your show is the right fit for their theatre, and then you are making a more personal approach, and you're more likely to get them into your show. So yes, is the answer.
Est-ce qu'il y a d'autres questions?
I have a question for Renato. Actually, I'm not sure whether it's an industry secret, but we talked last night, and I found it very interesting for you to talk about this model that, with the kind of a revenue or what the artists will get, this kind of group model, if you want to talk about it, if it's not a secret up to now. But I found it very interesting personally as a performance maker, so I think it might be interesting for them.
Ah ouais, c'est ça qu'il me demande.
So, I explained that the model that we're going to test this year, just because we're only just starting, each venue, each theatre will choose the company for the theatre, 3 companies for each theatre, and it will last 5 days. Every day the companies will change times. The first company will be on in the afternoon, and one in the evening, and so on. Everyone is fortunate enough to be at different times and accessible to different publics. That is the first thing, to give the same opportunity to everyone. The second is to control risks. Out of all the festival, the income from all the festivals come to the theatre structure. The three companies, maybe I have 100 people, they work, so 50% goes for the organization fees and the other 50% is shared between the companies. So everyone takes the risk at the same level. I'd say, not because I'm playing in the afternoon, I've got 20 or 30 people, and in the evening there are 100. There'll be a medium. We can strike a happy medium, and so that everyone is covered. And we play on all the festival days. This first year we're going to try that. We thought that the structures need to have quite similar company, same cost. We can't have a monologue in a theatre and another structure with 5 or 6 roles, because you've got different budgets. You have monologues with monologues, musicals with musicals, comedies, or structure in the same place. Then everyone has more or less the same budget, and that should give better coverage. It's something we're going to try. It's an idea. Maybe it'll work, maybe it won't. We'll see after the festival.
Yeah, I just wanted to, because I find it such a fascinating idea, because one of the main issues that I feel with fringe festivals is that the fringe festivals gives, of course, if you have to make your own ticket revenue, that's why we are going with the model of giving some money to the artists, but of course that's also a difficult one to sustain. But the other extreme would be like to just leave it to the artist, and you make what you make and you figure it out with the theater. And of course that sets many artists up to changing their work to make it appealing to an audience, which is sort of coming from a fringe perspective, throws the fringe artists back into a more like, market value. What's my thing worth? How many people can I attract? Which is a little bit tough. Again, I'm speaking as a performance maker, so I found this very interesting, this idea that artists that have more entertaining shows allow artists that have maybe less entertaining but more critical or social political performances, or performances that are maybe more daring and less appealing to a mainstream of audience, if that exists, to balance that, and for those people, for those artists to have a chance. And to also have some some revenue. So I find it really great. I hope it works.
I hope too, and that's the reason. But that was the idea since the beginning. C'était l'idée de juste de début.
That was the idea to start with, because I asked people who are better known by the major public to come and to the festival with a show for the general public. So you have a new version of the offer. So sometimes there could be kind of a mission, and maybe you have to work with different scales. But I think it should work. It's my idea of the festival anyway, to work this way. I'm sorry. John Poval, EU Arts Live. I have a question that I should have asked before the session, because we are streaming this session of the conference live, and we're going to do the same tomorrow, 2:40, 2:30, and Sunday 2:00. So do you mind us streaming you live? It's okay for you? It's already done? Oh, I got permission for later on. Can I tell our lawyers that you have approved? It was a great pleasure to listen to you. Tomorrow afternoon, same time, we'll have another panel. Well, speak a bit more about our project to put theatres online in an interactive format, to recreate the interactivity of theatrical venue, something that cinema can't do, and that actors' companies can do for themselves. We make getting hold of the production means. Well, thank you for your consent. Do we have any more questions? In case, let's just thank our speakers. Many thanks to Karen for making herself available for the Skype. Thank you, Achim, Katy, Renato, and Nikson. Do not hesitate to come and talk to them more informally if you have any questions for them. That's why they're here. And have a good afternoon. We'll continue with the French-speaking scene if you want to stay and think about international aspects with us.